welcome to the December 2023 Q&A on moving to France. My name is Allison Grant Lounes. I am the creator of Your Transformation. We're a relocation agency helping individuals find the right visa to and do all of the French administration to create their dream life in France. I'm also the admin of the Americans in France Facebook group. And I do these Q&As every month to answer your questions about moving to France and to get to know you so that when you're ready to move, you can reach out to us for help. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the questions that were pre-submitted. Now you can continue to submit them through the form and they will just pop up right at the end of my list. And then once I finish going through the questions in here, I'll also take care of the questions in the chat. All right, so we will start with Nate. Who would like a long stay visitor visa. Can an American on a long stay visitor visa get access to the French healthcare system called Protection Universelle Maladie, PUMA, even though I can't work in France and I'm not paying into the healthcare system under this visa? Yes, so PUMA is available to anybody who is a resident of France for more than 3 months. There are a couple of exceptions to this. If you have a temporary visa and not a renewable visitor visa, if you have a temporary stay visa, you cannot get on the French healthcare system. If you are on a salaried work contract and sent as on a temporary assignment to France that requires that you have private insurance and your employer is not paying French social charges on you, then you cannot get into the system. But other than that, yes, you can register on PUMA. Now, it's important to know that you may indeed pay into the system at some point. So the revenue that is taken into consideration under the PUMA scheme, anything that's pensions is not counted. So 401k, Social Security, IRAs, any of that, if it's a pension, whether it's a government pension or some kind of retirement account distribution, that is not counted as income for PUMA purposes. But any other type of income that you may have, including rental income, capital gains, dividends, business income from the States, anything like that would be subject to a premium, which is a small percentage of your income. So it's a little over 6%, and that's after a deduction of about 21,000 euros. So it's really difficult to calculate the exact amount of premium you will eventually pay to PUMA if you have to pay something. But typically, I mean, most people when they're retired are going to have very little to pay into PUMA. All right, Nora, need to obtain a birth certificate from Orléans, France. How do I go about doing that? So you should go on the website of the Mairie of Orléans and go to the Service État Civil, and you should be able to order one online. Carrie Ann, I'm planning to move from the US in fall 2024. My biggest concern stems from posts about expats having trouble securing their first rental property upon arrival in France. Do you offer a service that includes aid in securing long-term furnished or unfurnished property? So we don't do property searches ourselves, but we have several partners that do, and we refer our clients to them based on region. And we also help people get the guarantee application sorted out so they have a guarantor in France. And that tends to work with quite a few landlords. I'm confident I can get myself to France without too much assistance. However, do you offer a package that will aid someone through their first year of residency? I want to make sure I do everything right once I arrive. So right now, our packages include the visa and preparation. So our clients get their visa application prepared for them, but they also get access to our admin, all of our videos about French admin and guiding them through the different admin procedures in order to get set up correctly before they come over. And then we're adding more and more videos as time goes on about the admin procedures to do in France. So right now, we don't have a package that is only the first year in France. I'm working on something right now called the Transformation Sustainability Audit, because I've realized that I get contacted by a lot of people who can do the visa fine by themselves, but then they get over here and they don't find a long-term rental and they don't set up their French bank account and they don't have utilities or bills in their name and they don't exchange their driver's license in time. And so they don't know all of the French admin things that they need to do when they first arrive. So I'm creating a questionnaire, and basically what that's going to lead to is providing a more customized and tailored fee quote for getting people straightened out and all of their admin up to date and taken care of when they arrive. So look out for that if you don't feel like you need help with the visa. But in most cases, I kind of beg to differ. I feel like people who try to do it themselves end up not doing a lot of the necessary prep work before they get over here. Don, are there any resources to help me better understand if there is a potential market for the services I'm considering providing as an entrepreneur in France? I've been trying to do outreach via LinkedIn to professionals in comparable fields, but I'm not getting much response. Well, without knowing what your business is, I can't really give you any ideas. I would have a conversation with ChatGPT to find out about your industry in France. That's probably where I would start. It's true that it's really hard to make connections when you're not here with a visa yet and you don't have any concrete plans for arriving, because people tend to not respond to you and not take you seriously if you're just saying that you're going to be applying for the visa and don't have anything concrete about being able to work in France. So, I mean, that's something that we work with our business clients on, is developing those connections and researching how more of those connections can be made in France. So that's something that we can talk about further if you tell me what your industry is and what types of services you provide. Vivian, we followed your book and applied and got approved for a Passport Talent business creator. Visa is only for 3 months. We thought the book said 1 to 4 years. Does it mean we should apply for a carte de séjour once we get there, which is then 1 to 4 years? Yes, so any of the Passport Talent visa types, you get a 90-day visa. And then when you arrive in France, within those 90 days, first you have to find an address, and then you have to apply for your carte de séjour online. And the main visa applicant has to apply first and get an ID number, and then you can do the spouse's visa application, carte de séjour application online through the NF portal. And then you'll get 1 to 4 years. And in most cases, our clients have been getting 4 years for the business creator right off the bat. We only had one person kind of at the beginning who got 2. While we wait for the carte de séjour, can we go in and out of Schengen with our 3-month visa? Yes. They won't take our passports? No. You'll need to bring your passport when you go to the prefecture to pick up your card, but it won't leave your possession. After the 3 months, we cannot leave Schengen since we can't get back in. I would advise against it. The truth is, with a US passport, you're probably not going to have too much trouble getting in and out of Schengen. Theoretically, you're not supposed to if you're waiting for the carte de séjour. Once your carte de séjour is approved online, you'll get an attestation to download. It's called an attestation de décision favorable, that says that your carte de séjour application has been approved. And that says on it that you can cross Schengen borders with it. So you would cross with your passport, with the visa, and this paper attestation. I will warn you too that the spouse's carte de séjour tends to take a lot longer than the main visa applicants. Charles, we are both retired and won't ever want to work, age 64 and 65. Currently, we're traveling extensively, but would like to live in France between 90 and 180 days for now. As you mentioned in your book, if we have tax residency of more than 183 days, since we won't pay taxes, French taxes, naturalization would be difficult, so only residency might be the option. I'm assuming we could get a new long séjour temporaire each year, or is it once and done forever? Okay, so the long séjour temporaire can be any time from over 90 days to 12 months, and it's not renewable. You can go back to the US and apply for a new one, but it's not renewable. Over 12 months or over, you can request a renewable visa. That one you can renew every year in France. That one you're on the French healthcare system, you need to exchange your driver's license, you're establishing residency in France. You would need to file a tax declaration, but you're not ever going to get towards the 10-year residency card. So you could renew your visa every year, but theoretically, you're supposed to spend more than 183 days in France. So to answer your second question, does the long stay visitor visa require more than 183 days in the country to get it renewed? Technically, yes. Now, if you're maintaining residency in France the whole time and you have a long-term address and you're declaring your taxes, and let's say it's the only place in the world where you have actual property in your name and the rest of the time you're like going on vacation to various places, France could still be seen as your main place of residence, even if you're not physically there more than 183 days. That's a little bit iffy. I will say, though, that what they're more concerned about with the 183 days is they're far more concerned about people who are spending less than 9 months in France out of the year and claiming benefits of some kind. So they're not really concerned about retired Americans who are kind of traveling and spending their money all over the place. That's not the kind of people that France is concerned about immigration wise. They're more concerned about people who are here on family visas who are getting some kind of benefit for being married to a French person, for having children, for having a low salary or low income, for being unemployed, etc., and who are continuing to receive those benefits while they're not maintaining a full residence in France. So you're not likely to have problems. Susan, I'm planning on moving to France as my boyfriend lives there and I want to work. I know I need a long stay visa, but I'm not sure how to approach it. I do not have a strong level of French. Any tips for getting a long stay visa to work, positions and industries that I should direct my energy towards? Depending on your age, your best bet might be to do some kind of higher education program. You could do a year of intensive French and then a master's program, for example, to get into some different field, even if it's only tangentially related to what you do now. You could pivot a little bit in your career. If you do a 2-year master's program that leads to a degree, you get a 1-year job search visa that would allow you to look for a full-time position. And then there are fewer restrictions on hiring you as a foreigner once you have that degree, and lower salary requirements to sponsor you for staying in France. So that would probably be a really good option for you. Another option would be self-employment. But I would encourage you to check out Foolproof French Visas. You can either download it on our website as an ebook, or you can purchase it as a paperback on Amazon, and that will help you to outline your options. Mary, should I put off plans for applying for my long-term visa until after the Olympics? I'm not interested in being in Paris until after things have settled down again. I mean, that's up to you. I am getting the hell out of Dodge during the Olympics. I will say that it's already getting complicated to find housing in Paris. There are a lot of people who are illegally trying to kick out their tenants, give notice to their tenants for relatives moving into their apartments. Yeah, I don't think so. So it's not an easy rental market right now. Not that it ever is in Paris, but especially not right now. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily encourage you to wait if you want to move to France, but I would maybe not plan on being in Paris during the Olympics. It's going to be a disaster for people who are living here. Okay, Tracy, when transcripts and birth certificates are needed for the visa application, are we expected to bring the real documents, or are copies acceptable? They will only take photocopies. So they're not going to take your original documents. I would say bring the original documents to have them, but they will only take a photocopy. Most of the time, they're not even going to look at the originals, although theoretically they could. And nothing needs to be translated for the visa application either. So I assume for you, we were talking about one of the talent passport options, whether you're being sponsored for a job for a passport talent salaried position, or whether you are going to apply for the entrepreneur option. In either of those cases, they're just going to want a photocopy of your degree. They don't take the original. Tom, any odds on them passing the law that will limit renewal of the 1-year CDS to 3 times? I haven't heard of that, so you're going to have to elaborate about why this might be a law. There's a lot of nonsense going back and forth in the Senate, and originally in the Senate and now in the Assemblée right now. And I'm not listening to most of it because half of it's not going to matter anyway, and we don't know which half. I will say that they're trying to make stricter requirements for getting a multi-year card or a 10-year card. So it's possible that they might increase the length of time required before you can request a multi-year card, or increase the language level. For visitors, I don't think they're targeting retired Americans who are spending their foreign money in Paris. Brian, can you please summarize what avenue a retiree with sufficient income and savings might follow to move to France and their tax consequences? So you would want to move to France with a visitor visa, and you would continue, assuming that all of your income is US sourced, you would continue to pay taxes on it in the US. So you would still have to talk to an accountant, and you would still have to talk to like a financial planner for estate planning, but your income would continue to be taxed in the US. You would have to declare it in France annually, but not subject it to tax. And then it depends on the type of income that you have. So I would say that you want to read Foolproof French Visas to understand the visa type and the financial requirements. And then you want to potentially talk to a notaire who can advise on international estate planning. and help you understand the consequences of potentially dying as a French tax resident. And yeah, then it depends on if you have large amounts of income that are from investments that are not in a retirement account, like large amounts of dividends or interest or things like that, then you may end up paying PUMA insurance premiums on that income. But if it's all in retirement accounts, it's not going to matter. Susan, I will have a state pension which will match or exceed French minimum wage. You said something about pensions. Is this valid income? Yes, if you have income, if you have a pension in the US that you get every month, then that meets the income requirement for a visa. Also, is online English teacher a liberal profession visa? Yes, if you want to do any kind of income generating activity, any kind of business, any kind of work, then you need to have a visa that enables you to operate a business in France. So if you're going to be teaching English online, you need a visa to be self-employed to declare your self-employment activity in France and pay taxes on it in France. Other Susan M, I answered your question earlier. Adrian, bonjour from Canada. My biggest concern regarding moving is actually my kids. They are 6 and 9. Do you know if the French school system is easy to move into? Okay, so the French school system is not the easiest, I will say, but 6 and 9 is a lot easier to get into the French school system than 9 and 12 or 12 and 15. At that age, if you enroll them in French school, by Christmas, they will be fluent and be translating for you. And I'm not kidding. French schools integrate kids really well. In elementary school, they have special like French as a second language classes for kids. They tend to be really welcoming, especially when it's kids from English-speaking countries. I would say that it wouldn't be an easy adjustment. It would be tricky in the beginning, but if you move at 9 or when your older child is 9 or 10, that means they'll have a good level of French before going into middle school. And that's going to make all the difference. And they'll have the opportunity to make friends before they get into early adolescence and teenager stuff, because it's a lot easier to make friends at 9 and 10 than it is at 11, 12, 13. College is hard for everybody. Middle school is not fun for anybody, I don't think. So adjusting into the system earlier. We do have a family that moved when their kids are, I think their younger one is 6 and the older one is 12. And that's going fine. Although it did take the older child a little bit more time to get into school because they had to test her. They had to test her and get her into a school placement. So getting into a particular middle school is a little bit harder. Mark, what is the minimum income or dollar amount in a bank account for a married couple, both on visitor visas? What's more important, money in the bank account or retirement pension or Social Security? So all income is judged equally. If you have a block of cash in the bank, that's the same as having a monthly Social Security or pension payment of the same amount. The amount is 1,365 euros per month, and that works for up to 3 people. So if you're a couple with 1 child, you could still all 3 get visitor visas with 1 net minimum wage per month. Would you actually be able to live in Paris on 1 net minimum wage per month? No, you might be able to pay your rent, but that would be about it. So after that, it would be finding a place to live that would be affordable, but that's the standard. And then it goes up about 10 to 15% for each additional family member that you add. The money can be in a US bank when you apply for the visa. Theoretically, it can also be in a US bank when you go to renew the visa, but we have discovered recently that the online platform some people have been getting a request back asking for translations of bank statements and translations of dollar amounts into euros. This was not something that ever used to happen, but I've seen it 2 or 3 times recently. And so we have just started requesting, most of our clients set up a French bank in the beginning. We introduce them, we put them in touch with the bank, and we don't really do anything for that process aside from get them the appointment, and then the banker handles the rest. But sometimes people don't transfer all of their money or don't transfer money regularly into their French account. So we've started requesting that people hold a certain amount in their French account just to avoid the issue of potentially getting a request for bank statements translated, because obviously translating 17 pages of bank statements is expensive and ridiculous. Random question. Wondering if dinner parties that go till 2 a.m. or later on the weekends is normal in France every weekend. Just spent a week there and the French friends were joking they had a friend who worked too much because he was tired and wanted to go home at midnight on a Saturday. The dinner party ended at 2:30 and I was told people usually stay even longer. I am not having dinner parties every weekend until 2:30 a.m. But I will say that when there are dinner parties, it's not uncommon for that to happen. We just had people over for Thanksgiving last week, and I will say that I kind of gave up on doing it the American way, which was to invite people over for like a 2 o'clock late lunch. And the reason I had to give that up was because the French people always ate lunch before they came over. So after a couple of years of that, I just started doing it either at regular lunchtime, like 12:31, but I didn't really have enough time to get prepared. So I started doing it at 7 and serving dinner at 8. And I think people left last week about 1. Now, of course, the problem doing it that late is I was already ready to crash by the time I sat down to eat because I had been cooking all day. But I think people might have stayed longer and the kids were still all up. My son was the youngest, I think, he's 9. He's almost 9. So yeah, I mean, when dinner parties start and people come over at 7 and they eat at 8, 8:30, 9, by the time you're having dessert, it can be midnight or later. And that's been our experience for New Year's. Sometimes we're getting to the main course of dinner by like 11. And then the kids go out and do fireworks at midnight. And then they come back and we have dessert and champagne at like 1 or 2 in the morning. But certainly not every night. Certainly not every weekend. Can we keep our American bank accounts in case it's there when we move to France? Yes. I would say you want to avoid telling your bank that you're moving to France and try to keep a US address on your accounts as long as possible. You can let me know if your bank gives you trouble or if you don't have a US address that you can maintain and you need to change your address to France. Let me know. We have a financial planner guy who can help manage investments for people who are in France. If you can pretend that you're not in France and keep a US address, it's easier. If they find out for whatever reason and you need to get somebody else to manage your accounts because your financial advisor suddenly says, oh, I can't work with you because you're in France, then I can hook you up with somebody who can. And actually, it's a podcast episode coming out really soon where he talks about managing US investments for people who have issues. I've been filing taxes through AMPO for 2 years. The owner of the apartment from Australia finally let AMPO know that I am the full-time tenant. She was being charged as her secondary residence, and I have not received a taxe d'habitation bill here in Paris. So I just figure that the AMPO figured out that this is my primary residence and I will not get a bill. That's what I would assume. You could even theoretically try to claim back for the previous 2 years when it was your primary residence, but I guess that would depend on your lease type, if it's a primary residence lease or a secondary residence lease. Are there any major cities in France that are not convenient for getting to other places in France or Europe? I guess it kind of depends. I mean, everything is pretty convenient now to get to Paris, and then from Paris, it's pretty convenient to get anywhere else. Kim and I just went to Bordeaux to see our clients like 10 days ago and 2 weeks ago. And I was surprised at how difficult it was for her to get from Montpellier to Bordeaux. It was 4.5 hours, whereas for me on the TGV, it was 2 hours from Paris. So like some cities, there's no connection. There's no TGV connection from one major city to the other. Like, I'm not sure how easy it would be to get from like Bordeaux to Lyon in the train. Like, you would probably have to go through Paris or through somewhere else. I don't know. But like from Montpellier or from Marseille, it's pretty easy and you pass through Lyon on the way to Paris. And then I guess it depends too on whether or not you want to fly or take the train. Like, there are regional airports that have flights to Europe. There's an airport in Rennes, there's an airport in Nice, there's an airport in Montpellier, in Bordeaux, etc. But how often are the flights to the places that you would want to go? Again, Kim and I are going to London in January, and from Paris, I can take the Eurostar. For her, we were looking and trying to see if there was a good flight that she could take from Montpellier to London. But like, there's not that many flights at that time of the year because the British people aren't coming to the south of France on vacation in January. South of Portugal, south of Spain, yeah, but south of France, no. So she ended up booking a train ticket to Paris and then taking the Eurostar with me. So it kind of depends on the time of year too.
And I have a driver's license from a state that is recognized by France for an exchange, so I can swap it once I arrive. Is it also necessary to have an AARP international driver's license? No. You can just use a certified translation of your driver's license front and back. That will work for the first year with your exchangeable license, and you can submit that. For the exchange, you'll have to submit front and back of your driver's license, copy of your driving record, certified translations of both of those things. And then some other documents too, but those are the main ones. Melanie, just wanted to say I finished your book. There's so much great information. Oh, thank you. Please review it on Amazon. And thanks for coming to my Zooms. Yeah, the driving record is what you get from your state DMV. And if your driving record is less than 3 years old, then you want to get a record from the previous state too, or you want your record to say like when you originally passed your driving test, because you want to show that you've been driving for more than 3 years, so you get a full grown-up license and not a provisional like young driver license. Right, anything else? I have a couple more minutes if anybody else wants to talk about any questions. Otherwise, I can tell you we just hired a new admin assistant. Her name is Lacey. She is lovely. She started about, I think this is her third full week that she's just starting. So on Wednesday, we released a podcast episode that is an introduction, like telling her story about how she came to France. She moved here in 2006 and was 2 years an English assistant in Rouen, and now she lives in Normandy. And she came into the office on Friday in Paris, and it's the second time I've met her in person because she's not that far. And we put together all of our Christmas cards for all of our clients, and we put together some presents with some chocolates for our partners, like that we send people to real estate agencies and things like that. So she came in and helped me with that. And yeah, you should listen to her episode. In January, we're probably going to have a virtual apéro for our clients. We did this when I hired Kim, or when Kim became full-time. She had already been working with me. And so we had a little virtual apéro and we invited all of our clients to come and have a drink with us one evening. And then the plan was to put everybody into little breakup rooms. So we're gonna have a little apéro in January, and then the idea is not only that everybody gets to meet Lacey virtually and see me and Kim, but also that our clients are going to be able to connect with people who have similar businesses, with people who are in similar geographic areas, maybe the people who have kids that are around the same age. So we're going to be putting people into little breakout rooms together. All right, couple more questions that came in, but yeah, definitely go listen to Lacey's podcast episode to learn more about her. She's part-time for now, but I'm sure that we will be able to keep her busy full-time very soon. All right, Kurt, I would like to have my wife view this video. How can she access it? We're going to be editing it tomorrow and we'll post it on our YouTube channel and we'll send out the link in the newsletter. One more question. We can sign on to French healthcare after 1 year of residence. Is that accurate? No. You can register for the French healthcare system in one of two ways. If you are working or you are self-employed, then your registration can go in as soon as you start your job or register your business. And if you register a business, like you register as auto entrepreneur, that automatically starts the process to get you onto the healthcare system, and that you don't have to wait 3 months. If you are here as a family member of a French person and you're not working right away, or if you are here on a visitor visa, then you can register after 90 days. I recommend sending in your application on day 90. The reason being, if you're on a visitor visa, you're going to need an attestation from a healthcare policy in order to renew your visa. And sometimes it can take a while, especially if you're a woman and you've changed your name, or if, regardless of sex, if you have any typos, if there's anything that like causes any doubts about the name on your birth certificate not matching perfectly with the name on your passport, then it's going to take a little while to get into the system. And even if you send them perfect documents with no shenanigans, they can still like tell you it's blurry and take multiple tries to accept them. So yeah, you want to send in your application on day 90 so that you have the best chance of having an attestation by the time you go to renew your visa at the end of the first year, and then you don't have to worry about purchasing private insurance again. So that's for anybody who is on a visitor visa. Now, if you're on a different visa type other than visitor, you don't have to provide the proof of insurance in the first place, although it's a good idea to have some kind of coverage if anything happens. All right, well, if that's all the questions that we have for today, I want to remind you that if you want a full hour of my time to talk about your own personal situation, you can schedule a consultation with me. I'm going to give you the link to that in the chat right now. We also offer full service relocation packages. So we help people with everything from developing the business plan or putting together any of the visa type applications, all the way through getting you set up with your essential French admin once you arrive in France. So if you're interested in working with us on doing that, you can go ahead and contact us through the website, and you can get a proposal that it will show you what the service includes and the cost, and tell us how many family members you would like to include. And then we can have a little bit of a chat about whether or not it's the right fit for you. All right, final question. What is the extra insurance for since healthcare is provided? Well, it takes you a while to get into the French healthcare system. So depending on your visa type and what you're doing for work, you may be required to have insurance for the first year. And that's depending on your visa type. Like, we set people up with the right insurance policy if they need it for the application. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I will look forward to speaking with you, hearing from you shortly. The next Q&A is going to be on Monday. I believe it's January 8th, because the 1st is obviously a holiday. Yep, January 8th. And so the Q&A invitation will go out 24 hours before. You can resubmit questions through the same form that you used for this one. And I will see you in the new year. So thanks for coming, and have a great end of 2023. Take care. Bye.